are some things that you need to be aware of when you're a noob. Or even if you're not a noob, maybe there are a few things even regular players can take from this, but in any case, we're here to help. As usual, we see you're back here at Top 5 Gaming again because you're clueless or you finished the final season of Black Mirror. Could you be doing more productive stuff with your time? Yeah, probably. We're not going to talk about it though, but if I keep my mouth shut about you binge watching all those Netflix originals, you're going to have to like this video and subscribe to Top 5 Gaming immediately. All right, welcome back to the channel, laddies and gentlemen, where today we break down the top 10 things that every Fortnite noob, including Jonesy or Blondie, whichever you prefer, needs to know. Not Super Saiyan Blondie, though. Super Saiyan Blondie knows everything. What about Ultra Instinct Blondie? Oh my god. Number 10. When building a staircase to rush someone, build a stair, then wall, then stair. It will make it easier for you to not get shot down and being exposed really easily. So, in the midst of a battle, rushing an opponent can leave you temporarily exposed. You have to leave the safety of your build in order to hunt down the enemy. Maybe you've just heavily damaged him and want to push before he can heal, or perhaps you just like to get in for that close combat action. Either way, you've now got to clear that gap, and even though you may have the advantage now, closing that gap can easily change the game. In a lot of cases, as you get close enough, most people will build some stairs to gain the high ground and shoot from above. But if the enemy's no beginner, then you're most likely going to have those stairs instantly shot out, leaving you falling and now with the disadvantage. As you see with a lot of pro players, try to practice building walls behind your stairs as you go up, and this will give you that extra second or two, even if they do try to shoot it down. Also, building floors is another step that would be good to learn, as this will give you that extra cover when building above the enemy. Chances are you might be struggling with battles with other really skilled players. We here at Top 5 Gaming have got you covered though, and have a solution to that. The only way to compete with the pros is to be taught with the pros by using ProGuides.com. Pro Guides are the ones who helped make this video possible. A lot of people ask us on a daily basis how we constantly come out with all these crazy strategies to dominate in Fortnite for the epic victory royale. And while our stuff is usually pretty up to date, the fastest way to learn the new meta is to learn from the source. And if you're looking to take Fortnite more seriously, go to events or stop your friends from making fun of your skill. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Trevor. We know you're getting made fun of, and we know you hit the default dance at school. Learn how to be a Fortnite pro from Fortnite pros by checking out ProGuides.com, the ideal place for Fortnite tips and courses to get better. Number 9, when you land at a building or location, farm for resources right away. At the beginning of most matches, a lot of battles involve less building. It's fairly understandable considering most players have just landed, and it's not till a little while later that most players actually get enough material to have any real battles, especially in places like Tilted Towers where most encounters are based on your positioning within natural buildings rather than a fully controlled build battle. This is a natural thing to happen as you obviously need to collect the material, but that's also why it can give a massive advantage in early game. When looting in the beginning of the game, try to harvest what material you can on your way around the buildings. Sofas, cabinets, wardrobes, and nearly all furniture can give you a decent amount of mats. And when you've been efficiently collecting material and weapons while the majority have just been running around buildings looting, you're going to be the one to control most battles, as a lot of players will run out after using what mats they got from chests alone. Number 8, learn how to fight and build better by dropping in highly populated areas. You'll die a lot at first, but over time, you'll learn how to get better. You can also learn how to 1v1 better by doing playground 1v1s against friends or randoms. Experience is key. Going for that epic victory royale is great. It always feels good to get the win, but when you're avoiding most encounters just to claim the victory, you'll soon get left behind when it comes to actual skill. The fact is, most of our skill relies on muscle memory, and the more you practice, the better you'll get. You can do this easily by practicing on playground, and with the new creative mode, there's already a bunch of courses that have been created that you can use to practice a massive variety of skills, but as much as that will enhance your speed and accuracy, it never really makes up for the ability to adapt. In real Battle Royale encounters, fights aren't limited by a creator. They don't have strict rules like no shooting each other's build down, which, don't get me wrong, it's great for some things, but not in a realistic match. Your best method for this is simply to drop in hotspots around the map. You may die a lot at the beginning, and it may feel like you won't get there, but with enough practice, you'll soon find yourself making plays that you never thought you'd be able to make. Maybe practice at Tilted Towers for a bit. Whatever the most popular place is to the beginning of the bus route is always handy for finding plenty of players. The one thing I would say is don't practice at one spot for too long. Mix it up to make sure you're learning with every game. Number 7, always use the storm to your advantage. Pinch people by waiting in zones when they're outside. This forces them to either rush you, making them vulnerable, or take massive amounts of damage in the storm. For most players, the storm is something to be feared. You spend every game running from its poisonous effects. However, anything can be used effectively in a battle if the opportunity is available. The storm will always force people in a certain direction. It doesn't matter if they have 100 campfires. They will eventually be forced to come into the safe area. Now, if you're in the safe zone, you can easily use the storm wall to block any enemies from coming in. And without having to do any actual fighting except for spam building, you can have the storm kill your opponent for you without putting yourself in any real danger. Most players tend to keep running inwards from the storm shield, but sometimes going around the perimeter allows you to use the shield to your advantage. It's similar to if you get into a fight inside the storm, but you're close to the edge. So if your enemy is skilled, the fight could go on for ages. So instead of focusing on killing the enemy, try to prioritize getting out of the storm and then using it to block your attacker out. Most players will be in such a panic to get out of the storm that they tend to leave themselves easily open to attack. Number 6 is when landing, it's obvious not to pull your glider out immediately. A huge trick is to look for the lowest point, dive to that area, then move to where you really want to land. For example, if you want to land in Salty Springs, do not land over a mountain or a high area. It takes longer for you to get down. Instead, go all the way down to a low point on the map and you'll land much quicker. Flying down from the battle bus and being the first to land at your location isn't always the easiest thing to do. In fact, even though the game's been out for a year, you still find a similar amount of people that are pulling their gliders too early or simply landing way too late. Getting a low glide is one of the most powerful advantages you can get to the beginning of a match, yet it's hard to find any detailed guides on it. When a location is quite far away from the bus route, I've noticed a lot of players will jump really early, expecting the fact that they jump first, meaning they'll get there quicker, but that's not how it works because the bus is actually faster than any player. So the quickest way to get to a faraway location is to jump just before the bus is at a 90-degree angle to the place that you want to go. This will give you the fastest route before you have to think about even pulling your glider. The first thing you need to know about this is that your automatic redeploy kicks in at about the exact same height every single time, but that height isn't just measured from the ground level, it's measured from what's directly below you. So if you go over a mountain or a tree, it can cause the redeploy to kick in earlier than usual, leaving you late to land. It can also be used the other way. If you see a dip in the ground or perhaps a low stream nearby, using those spots can give you the lowest glider pull of all. The lowest possible spot to pull your glider is off the edge on the island over the ocean. The only time you want to pull your glider here is if you're going for one of the first locations the bus is flying over or one of those spots on the edges of the map. Number 5, when in a gunfight, do not try to use a zipline to get away. Riding ziplines make you go in a very predictable path with absolutely no defense. Also, make sure when riding it that no one is coming across the other way, as you and the other person will fall to your death. You can avoid this by perfectly timing a jump when you're just about to smack into the other person. Ziplines have been a very useful feature to the game in terms of travel mechanics, but in terms of battling, this can become your worst enemy, and in all honesty, we would suggest you just avoid them entirely during battles. The fact is, when you're using a zipline, you travel in a very predictable line, have no way to defend yourself, and for a lot of decent players, you're going to be easy pickings. You can definitely try to dodge them by jumping and changing directions, but it's still going to leave you in a situation that the enemy can easily predict. Something that we're all probably aware of by now is what happens when two people use the zipline at the same time and go towards each other. They both smash into each other and fall to their death. It's a brutal way to go, but there are a couple methods to avoid it. For one, you can attempt to jump over your opponent. This will work easily unless the other person has the same thought. Then you both still slam into each other and fall to your death. The best thing you can do when you notice someone else is about to jump is do a 180, and then when you get on a zip wire, it'll take you the way you're facing. This 180 jump will change the direction you're going and prevent you having to risk a jump maneuver or falling at all. Number 4, plane tips. So the planes have definitely made a big impact on the Fortnite community. Some good reasons and also some bad, but man, does it feel good when you manage to hijack someone's plane or pull off a sick maneuver in battle. Here's some very useful tips that can really change the way you have your air battles. First of all, when your plane explodes, it'll cause everyone within the plane to take 25 damage. So when your plane is getting close to that point, eject slightly early to avoid it altogether. If you have a little bit of time, you can also fly as high as you can before ejecting to get that maximum distance to glide across the map or to the circle. One plane maneuver in particular we have yet to see be fully taken advantage of yet is the head-on collision hijack. It's not exactly an uncommon thing to see two planes in battle to essentially be playing a game of chicken. They'll be flying directly towards each other, shooting away, then they collide and flow down until eventually flying away to continue the fight. Well, if you ever find yourself in a game of chicken with planes like this, and just before you make impact, eject yourself from the plane and quickly get in the passenger seat of your enemy's plane, giving you the easy kill. Most people aren't going to be expecting that. Number 3, when driving a quad crasher and you need to get in that zone quick, build up 3 ramps and hit the boost at the last split second. If you time it right and you have the right motion, you can literally fly across the whole map. It's very difficult to master, but you can practice it in creative or playground and get really good at it. Something that wasn't discovered for a little while until after the quad crashers were released was the ability to basically fly with them. You've probably seen it in a few clips on Twitch or YouTube where people are just boosting around the skies hunting down opponents. Maybe you even attempted it yourself a couple times. After all, it seems like a pretty useful skill to learn. It's just that it's extremely difficult to master. The biggest mistake most people make is thinking it can be done off of anything, a small hill or off of a low ramp. And to be fair, you might get quite far, but the easiest and most reliable method is to build up a ramp and at least 3 stairs high. This is going to give you a perfectly flat lineup, whereas a hill can leave you flying wonky. Now, drive up the ramp, and as you're at the end, hold down that boost and do a slow backflip. Don't use the max boost though. You want to let go of the boost early, but use just enough to get you some decent height and momentum. Then you basically just want to repeat that process, and even if you learn to do it just 2 or 3 of these at once, that can allow you to travel large distances. And if you're running from the storm, it could even save your life. Number 2, you're trying to rank up quickly, play with friends who have big XP bonuses that they unlock through the battle pass. Ranking up in Fortnite is designed to be more social. They've got a friend XP system that will give players a maximum of 40% XP for their friends in the lobby. If you're attempting to go solo, then leveling up is going to be a real struggle. Hitting level 100 will be nearly impossible unless you put as much time into Fortnite as a full-time job. The fact is that 40% friend XP boost is also stackable. So if you've got 3 friends in your lobby, then they can give you a total of 120% XP boost. And that's to everything that you get. But that's if they have the max battle pass. At first, you only get a 15% XP boost, but the more you level up the battle pass, the more you'll get. So if you're really desperate to level up, then try playing with people on your friends list that have a high battle pass tier and players that are really good. Those players that are decent are going to help bring in the XP from wins, and the friend XP boost is more than doubling it. With a full squad, you can essentially reach level 100 in less than half the time as someone playing in solo. Number 1 is when using a pump shotgun, whenever you can, try to aim down sights when shooting your opponent, but don't make yourself vulnerable as it makes you really slow. Stuff like editing a window in a wall really quickly and aiming down sights to shoot will deal significantly more damage as the spread is a lot smaller, will reduce the amount of times you hit those terrible pump damage numbers. Might seem a bit obvious, but most people I see always just try to hip fire the pump, which increases spread and makes you do a lot less damage. Close range combat has gotten a whole lot better since Fortnite delivered on the shotguns. The damage is a lot more consistent and now actually feels like I'm doing a decent amount of damage, but there's one tip a lot of players are still missing that can help them cause a whole lot more. When you're jumping around in a shotgun fight, you can't exactly aim down your sights. It just doesn't let you. But when you're on the ground level, aiming down the sights can make you a sitting duck. So in the end, a lot of shotgun players tend to forget about aiming down their sights altogether. However, in the right situations, it's always preferable if you can land a shot while aiming down sights, as it does a lot more damage, as it's more compressed and your shots are more accurate. You can literally lose up to 50, 70 damage with some of the shotguns just by hip firing from the same distance. So it just does not make sense. You could even try to kind of, ADS while you're shooting in a sense, but you got to time it right. Latency could affect if that would even affect your spread. So you have to be pretty close to the end of the animation for it to actually register. Obviously, you can't do that all the time, but in shotgun fights that include a lot of editing and such, aiming down the sights for that split second could change the entire course of the fight. But that has been our list of the top 10 things every Fortnite noob needs to know. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel if you're new, push notifications on, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.